And there was one very, very major issue that Baha'u'llah talked about in last classes pages, was about how every one of us, and we discussed that a little bit, every one of us is capable potentially of understanding the scriptures. And sometimes we don't, of course, that is true. Like Shimi was saying, you know, that if it wasn't this, then she wasn't understanding, but that's not a matter of capacity. We discussed that, right? We don't is a different issue than we don't have capacity is a different issue. So Baha'u'llah is saying all of us have been given capacity by God to understand it. Now, when he calls his word the ocean of his word is an ocean, not all of us become scuba divers, right? So there is that too, and which is beauty, by the way, because the more you strive into the script, it never fails you. It has so many layers of deeper meanings, right? So right now we are struggling with this kind of life and we are getting meanings out of that. You think what would happen to us in 1,000 years? We still would be getting meanings and inspirations out of this, because our own experiences, when we build our life around it, it actually opens up more vistas. It opens up more capacity to see farther. So, and that capacity can be tapped into within the first year of revelation. We see that through like Qudus and Mullah Hussein and all those, right? So these are the examples that are potentially achievable. If they can understand and love the manifestation that way, then potentially we can achieve that. If Abdul Baha was so wonderfully understanding of things, he's our exemplar, we are supposed to be like him. Yeah. So if he can understand that, we potentially can as well. It's just that all of us learn differently. So you have to find your own ways for how to really focus, how to find your focus. Yeah. So I was saying, yes, I can give you a lot of examples. I can explain things, this and that, but all of that is learned here in this life. Yeah. None of us is born with it. It's just a matter of, okay, so here is something Baha'u'llah's reference this. What does that mean? So here you go. You start researching, right? So he's mentioning Quran. What does Quran say about it? He's mentioning Bible. What does Bible say about it? If you never interacted with Muslims or Christians or other people, he says that Muslims believe this. You can research that and see what is it that they do, right? So I often say that to be a best teacher, there is 3 to 4 things you really need to have. First of all, we need to, as the Guardian says, we need to really understand our own scriptures very, very well, and then live them. The more you understand and live them, the better teacher you'll become. Secondary part is to get to know the other scriptures, previous ones, for whoever is you're focusing. If your community is Christians around and Hindus around or whoever, that first. And of course, we should study all of them, find time to study all of them. Study their scriptures to know what their actual scripture says. And the last one that is still very important is to know what is it that they believe. Because they often don't really believe what the scripture is actually saying, even though they say, you know, they're Hindus or Muslims or whatever. And that's where your strength is, by the way. Yeah? So you bring them back to the word of God, first to their own, as Baha'u'llah is doing in the Kitab. Yeah. So until now, he's bringing the person he's teaching back from what his scriptural background is. He's showing that person, and by showing him, of course, showing the humanity and all of us, that your scriptures were saying something else. And the belief system you have created, the dogmas you have created that became veils and hindrance to you, are quite the opposite living actually from what your scriptures. So you must know those. If you're trying to teach a Hindu, then you must know what the Hindu scriptures are. But at the same time, you must know where the variance of that Hindu belief is today. Yeah. Only then you can bring them back to their stuff, and from their stuff, then they believe you. They see you that, yes, you know this stuff and you believe in it. You see it as your own. And that opens up a majorly a heart's door, by the way, most of the times. Yeah. All right, so Baha'u'llah was very, very determined about that. And he had warning us over and over again not to blindly take up anything. No, not to blindly ever take up anything, no matter who is saying that. Okay. Yeah, no matter who is saying that. So even for himself, he says, if you don't think who I am, then test it, see my fruits, what it is, right? See for yourself and then come. And that whole thing about seeing by thine own eyes and not by the eyes of others, we often spoke about it. It was quite enlightening for me to find out what the Guardian says that means, because people really actually misinterpret that a lot in Baha'i communities. That does not mean that we don't do this class, or that you don't sit with each other and learn from each other. None of that. What it means is, he says, to stop blind imitation and stop following the traditions of your community and culture and previous religions. You put those things aside and study with a new eye. Yeah, you're studying, and of course, study is important. To study alone is very important, and study together is very important, and they both have their own fruits. So the Guardian talks about that. All right, so those were some of the few things. Anybody else that I'm missing something really, really intrigued you in the last few pages that you want to talk about it quickly?
May I ask? May I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, as we are discussing that everybody has capacity.
Yes.
And it is written in the writings that capacity is preordained.
Yes.
So if it is preordained, so I have to put my effort, or it is already
because you don't know what that capacity is. We actually don't know what that capacity is until we put it to practice. Same as when you do the physical exercise. You actually don't know how much your muscles can handle until you start pushing yourself, yeah? And preordained, in a sense, the way I understand it is that, first of all, my being has a set capacity. Like I am not like lots of other people. There are lots of other people who are so much ahead of me, right? There are things that they can do, and I don't. But within my own, it is unlimited within my own self. Remember, we talked about the infinite levels. Everyone has that infinity within themselves. So wherever you are at, there's so many levels of that capacity. Without pushing it, you don't actually know where that is. And that's why I often say that no matter how much work we do, at least that's how I see it. No matter how much I serve and do, you always feel so short, because in essence, we are all really lazy. We don't really do as much as we can. And if I know already that I am doing not as much as my capacity that I know is not being fulfilled already, how much more that God knows that I'm not even getting there. So spiritual stuff is same as your physical exercises. If you start walking first and you never walked, you don't go for walks, within 10 minutes, you'll be really tired. You start pushing yourself, within a month, now you're doing a couple of miles. If you start training yourself, you can run a marathon, yeah? And the spiritual capacity is the same way. There is a preordained measure. For example, I will never be a manifestation of God, and there you go. That's a preordained thing, right? But within my own self, I have unlimited capacity that God has given me. Does that answer your question, Rihanna Jan?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. So yes, we have to strive, because we have been ordered to strive all the time. Otherwise, become like almost no strength in body or soul. All right, then if nobody else wants to talk anything, what paragraph? 251, I think, or 252?
252.
252. All right. Let's start from the bottom list up again this time. So last one is Suleiman. Always.
Yes.
All right.
It is Vijay last.
Vijay's last?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Vijay.
Furthermore, the sign of truth and falsehood.
Furthermore, the sign of truth and falsehood is designated and appointed.
This is the one I have to read, or
divine touch.
behold the divine touch. Okay. Behold how the divine touchstone had, according to the explicit text of the book.
I thought we finished on 251 last time, no?
We finished that paragraph. We finished that. Yeah, and behold how the divine touchstone.
No. Furthermore.
We finished that. Furthermore, हो गया आंटी मैं डेट लिखा है बुक में. I've marked it where we finished.
Which number paragraph? What's the consensus, guys?
Actually, it's behold how the divine touchstone begins from today. Last time, wherever we finished, I underlined that. I marked
252? Okay, furthermore. 252 is furthermore, yeah?
Yeah, 253. 253.
I have marked 251 as the last. Okay, anyway, go ahead. You can-
No, I don't think we read 252.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we did not read that. So let's start with 252. Furthermore, the sign of truth and falsehood is designated and appointed in the book. Go ahead, Vijay.
By this divinely appointed touchstone, the claims and pretensions of all men must needs be
The claims and intentions of all men must needs be assayed, meaning judged, assayed, yeah, judged.
so that the truthful may be known and distinguished from the impostor. This touchstone is no other than this verse.
Wish for
Wish for
death,
death.
if ye are men of truth. Wish for death, if ye are men of truth.
Consider these martyrs of unquestionable sincerity, to whose
Whose
truthfulness
truthfulness testified the explicit text of the book. If you actually hold the truth and really believe it, by the way, it gives you courage to stand up for it. You won't hide from it because you have persecutions. So, all right, go on.
and all of whom, as thou hast witnessed, have sacrificed their life, their substance, their wife, their children, their all, and ascended unto the loftiest chambers of paradise. Is it fair to reject the testimony of these detached and exalted beings to the truth of this three imminent and glorious revelation, and to regard as acceptable the denunciation which have been uttered against this resplendent light by this faithless people,
By this faithless people,
who for gold have forsaken their faith, and who for the sake of leadership have repudiated him who is the first leader of all
who
mankind.
is the first leader of all mankind.
This, although their character is now revealed unto all people who have recognized them as those who
Who
will
will
in
in
no
no
wise
wise relinquish one jot or one tittle of their temporal authority for the sake of God's holy faith, how much less their life, their substance, and the like. And you see that abundantly clear out of Dawnbreakers and God Passes By. When you read that it was amazingly surprising to me that on one hand, they were killing the believers, saying that these are Satans, these are infidels, these are untouchable, these are all of those things, but they never hesitated to rob their homes or steal their stuff, yeah, right? What kind of religious fervor is that? It was quite insane, and still is, right? So the Quran, that's the Quranic verse, wish for death if ye are men of truth. Any other questions or concerns about this one? So in real life too, when you're judging something, pay attention to the character of people who are bringing you stuff. So if you have a story, one is for, one is against, then see which one is the one who's saying what. The one who is honest, living their life according to the work of God, are a better and wonderful human being. Would you rather take their testimony, or the one who's proven to be a thief and a murderer and all of that kind of stuff? And we are losing these talents in humanity on the globe, by the way. So these are important things. Pay attention to them. All right. Now we come to the paragraph. Behold,
Who is the first leader? F capital.
Manifestation. The manifestation is. He's saying that they are going against the manifestation, and these people who have no character are going against the one who is the first leader of mankind. That's the Bob. Primal point. Primal, first, very first. Yeah. Go on.
Behold, the divine touchstone hath, according to the explicit text of the book, separated and distinguished the true one from the false. Notwithstanding, they are still oblivious of this truth, and in the sleep of heedlessness are
pursuing the vanities of the world,
and are occupied with thoughts of vain and earthly leadership.
Yeah. By the way, Baha'u'llah had said that he doesn't want that kind of martyrdom anymore, right? He doesn't want us to go out in the streets and kill ourselves. He says he wants living martyrdom. So you sacrifice every day. And I tell him that chopping your head off type of martyrdom was easier for some of us. This daily dying is difficult. All right, go on.
O Son of Man, many a day had passed over thee, whilst thou hast busied thyself with thy fancies and idle imaginings. How long art thou to slumber on thy bed? Lift up thine head from thy slumber, for the sun hath risen to the zenith. Haply it may shine upon thee with the light of beauty.
Do you guys know which writing is this? Does it remind you that it exists somewhere else?
Hidden words.
Yes, very good. Do you know which one, Han? It's
I was remembering. I was thinking that that line was there somewhere.
yeah, 62, 62nd.
Arabic 62.
Yes, Arabic 62. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the meaning of zenith?
Zenith. Zenith is when the sun reaches in the middle of the day at 12 o'clock at the highest point. That's called zenith. So the sun is risen and already has come to the zenith at this highest point. The Bab's revelation was already actually ending by this time after the zenith in a sense. So that's what Baha'u'llah was mentioning.
Let it be known, however, that none of these doctors and divines to whom we have referred was invested with the rank and dignity of leadership. For well-known and influential leaders of religion who occupied the seats of authority and exercised the functions of leadership.
And in no wise bear allegiance to the revealer of truth, except whomsoever thy Lord willeth.
But for a few, such things have never come to pass. And few of my servants are the thankful. Even as in this dispensation, not one amongst the renowned divines in the grasp of whose authority were held the reins of people had embraced the faith. Nay, they have striven against it with such animosity and determination that no ear had heard and no eye had seen the like.
So there is scholarship and there is leadership. The leaders, the religious leaders, are supposed to be scholars, but not all scholars are leaders, right? We understand the distinction. I actually would always, I tell myself and whoever is listening that don't wish to be leaders over people. First of all, it's a miserable life to live because it's hard to deal with people in that kind of way, and it's dangerous. When so many people are like kowtowing, which we call it, like prostrating to you all the time, it puts your soul into danger actually. So it's better to be your own person and no followers in a sense of that style than to be in those positions. That's what he's trying to give a warning about. So Baha'u'llah has abrogated that. He didn't abrogate the leadership, right? We have leaders. So you have ABMs, you have counselors, you have members of institutions. Those members individually, none of the individuals after the guardian has any authority over us. Yeah, we know this very well. So the last person as a person within itself was an institution was two, Abdul Baha and the guardian, right? So they were individuals, but they were an institution in itself, and they had authority over us. No one else, no human being, no matter where they serve, has authority over us. It's the institution, as like 9 members, the institution has authority, the elected ones, right? And non-elected ones, ABMs and counselors have zero authority, none. Yeah, we respect them and we love them and they can give us guidance, but they don't have authority to force their ways onto us. We understand that, right? So Baha'u'llah has helped to curb this problem that was.
And even if individual, personal, we praise each other, it also creates ego.
Yes, praising should be always just and sincere and real. When we praise without merit, that's when it creates ego. So we are asked to not be so critical of each other. The Guardian said one of the major problem is that people are too critical of each other. So that is forbidden to us too. But at the same time, when you read the Guardian, when we come to the Advent, we'll see this over and over again. The Guardian will, when he will censor injustice. And when he will praise injustice. He didn't praise just willy-nilly that, oh, you just because you're Baha'is, you're wonderful. He actually will quote it why he's praising you. You did this and this and this, and that's why this was good things. And we must learn from that. I've seen, I'm a teacher, and I see that children get destroyed from false praise because it creates I have many examples that it shudders my soul. It creates a false sense of being into them. And when they are in the real life, they cannot really quite accomplish that. And it kills that spirit and soul and motivation. So we should be loving and good to them and less critical, but at the same time, when you praise anyone, it must be built on just merit. Whatever they're actually achieving, praise that. Don't just, I mean, we do this so much now that it's a nightmare, right? Every child has to get a medal, no matter what they did. And that's not a good way to go, right? So, go on.
It creates a bubble, and then mothers are there to burst the bubble and become.
It creates a bubble in their own soul, and when their life is tough, they lose it. It's a misery where we create for them, by the way, in the long run. And they didn't create it. We create it as adults. We do this, and it's just not right. So find the good talents in them and praise them. But don't make stuff up. Yeah. So if you're really good in essay writing, say, oh my God, you're wonderful about that, but you need to work on your math, man. Yeah. So don't say no matter you do, you're wonderful. No, we are not wonderful all the time. Yeah. So go on. Let it be.
The Bab, the Lord, the most exalted, may the life of all be sacrificed unto him, had specifically revealed an epistle unto the divines of every city, wherein he hath fully set forth the character of the denial and
repudiation of each of them. Wherefore take ye good heed, ye who are men of insight.
By his reference to their opposition, he intended to invalidate the objections which the people of the Bayan might raise in the day of the manifestation
of Mustaghas. Mustaghas. Write it in your own words. How would you hear this pronunciation and read it? Remember, I told you how to get good at pronunciations. Use your own spellings on the right and rewrite it. And then when you next time read it Mustaghas. Mustaghas. That was one of the titles of Baha'u'llah, by the way. It means the one who is invoked.
the day of the later resurrection claims that whereas in the dispensation of the Bayan, a number of divines have embraced the faith. In the
later revelation, none of these hath recognized his claim.
His purpose was to warn the people, lest God forbid they clinging to such foolish thoughts and deprive themselves of the divine beauty. Yea, these divines to whom we have referred were mostly
unrenowned, and by the grace of God, they were all purged of earthly vanities.
and free from the trappings of leadership. Such is the bounty of God, to whom he will be
Giveth it. To whom he will, he giveth it. To whom he will, he giveth it. Yeah. So here we talked about this theme a couple of times in this class, that the scriptures are for us. Yeah. So all the warnings are for us, for Baha'is. And just recently I had a discussion with a friend where the moment you quote some of these things, we immediately want to say, oh, they did this and that at the time of Moses, at the time of, yes, they did. But at the same time, we shouldn't be always just focusing on that. The whole purpose is that through those examples, we learn what not to do. Yeah. So the Bab has said this. He had written a letter to every city and all major religious leaders of the whole of Persia. And he himself said that by warning them, he was actually warning his own people. Yeah, that what we should not do. So because this is a problem. When I was a little child, there is a verse in the Quran that says at the time of the end, I'm paraphrasing, God will ask about why the female, why the daughter, why the girl was buried alive, right? And I was a few years old and I asked that, I read that and I said, because I didn't think we were doing that anymore. So what does God mean by that? And I was immediately told, oh, he's talking about these other people that used to do it before Islam, right? And even at that age, the grammar caught my eye and I said, he's saying he will. At the time of the end, he will ask. That one was already asked. So if he will ask, then he's asking those of us who are going through this now. And they won't acknowledge that. They can't fathom that they have this problem. Yeah. So by saying that, God was already warning 1400 years ago how not to treat women, but we didn't pay attention. Now it's coming to roost at home, right? And now we can see what the scripture was talking about. So scripture is for ourselves, always. So always pay attention. So Baha'u'llah is saying whatever he wrote, it was to warn us to what not to do. Right? What not to do. Okay. Next.
Auntie, what does Mustafa mean?
Mustaghas. Can you write it, sweetheart? However you write in Hindi. How would you write in Hindi next to it to say Mustaghas? Yeah. Maybe Hindi doesn't have ghan, but whatever is close enough. That's how I learn pronunciations, by the way. I'm just trying to let you know how I learn. So like, for example, when you read resurrection, right? So I will say re-z-rec-tion. I will write it in that many ways, right? That many, I will dissect it. I will cut it off and I'll say re-z. This SU is as ZE. So write it as that. Rather than SU, say ZE, Z and E. Then when you pronounce it, next time it helps and it's good pronunciation. Mustaghas is one of the names of Baha'u'llah, and it means the one who is called for, the one who is invoked.
Thank you.
Similarly,
There's a prayer, Reshma, where Baha'u'llah says, if you're really, really in trouble, say this 1,000 times and God will send special help. Ya Mustaghas. Ya Mustaghas.
Ya Ilahal Mustaghas.
Yeah. All right. Rehana, you were about to say, you had a comment or question? Huh?
Yeah, similarly, Mashrikul Ashkar.
Mashrikul Azkar is the name of the temples, the dawning place of remembrance. The dawning place of remembrance. Remembrance in Arabic, zikr, is one of the titles of the Bab, by the way. And of course, in that same essence for the manifestations of God. So where names of gods are recited, that's what the name means. Where names of God are recited. Yeah? The Guardian had translated that in English, dawning place, dawning meaning descending, places of remembrance of God. Yeah. So now when you read the Quran, you will see Baha'u'llah's titles are the Great Announcement. The Bab's title was Zikr. It's so full of these two analogies, the whole of the Quran is, like these two names. Yeah. Same as the Old Testament was for Prophet Muhammad, it was the one who would be praised, but it wasn't the word Muhammad. So they were looking for the word Muhammad and they couldn't find it there. And then they were saying, oh, it's been thrown out. Yeah. These are titles and they mean something, they're attributes. All right. Next.
Mom, it's you. Mommy.
Hannah?
Yes, yes, yes. Another proof and evidence of the truth of this revelation, which amongst all other proofs, shineth as the sun, is the
constancy of the eternal beauty.
in proclaiming the faith of God.
Though young and tender of age, the Bob was barely 25 years old. Though young and tender of age, and though the cause he revealed was contrary to the desire of all the peoples of the earth, both high and low, rich and poor, exalted and abased, king and subject, yet he arose and steadfastly proclaimed it. Ask yourself one day, actually test this thing. Ask yourself to say, you're going to go walk out to this bunch of people, walk in a mosque, and go in there, sit among them and announce you're a Baha'i and invite them to the faith. I'm not saying go do it. Just ask yourself sincerely that you want to go do it. Your heart is seized with so much trepidation and fear. Right? It's hard stuff to do, to go to face people, especially when they're in groups of stuff. And do this kind of stuff. So when you challenge yourself onto these things, even though we are not asked to teach this way, and don't go teach this way, you understand what I mean? But certain things challenge yourself, and then you truly understand what courage this was, what courage this is. That single-handedly a manifestation of God stands up and teach things that nobody wants to follow. And they get persecuted and killed for it, and the whole of their life, the first sentence they say the first day is the same sentence they say the last day. That's constancy. That's a real essence of truth, right? Why? Because truth is not two, is not three, not four, it's one. If you know the truth and you're speaking it, it's always the same story. Yeah. Go on.
All have known and heard this. He was afraid of no one. He was regardless of consequence. Could such a thing be made manifest except through the power of a divine revelation?
Divine revelation.
And the potency of God's invincible will. By the rightness of God, were anyone to entertain so great revelation in his heart, the thought of such a deliberation would alone confound him.
Would alone confound him.
Were the hearts of all men to be crowded into his heart, he would still
hesitate to venture upon so awful an enterprise.
He could achieve it only by the permission of God, only if the channel of his heart were to be linked with the source of divine grace.
Divine grace, and his soul be assured of the unfailing sustenance.
Of the Almighty. To what we wonder
do they ascribe so great a daring?
Do they excuse him of folly as they excuse the prophets of old? Or do they maintain that his motive was none other than leadership and the acquisition of earthly riches?
You see how I was saying Baha'u'llah was like answering so many of those questions in my soul and stuff. This was one of them when I was from very young age. Reading through life of prophets, and especially, well, of course, I absolutely adore Prophet Muhammad, being raised a Muslim, and I was very fond of Christ, and they suffered so much. And I used to ask this, why? When you read their lives or what they were teaching, they didn't say that make me a king of yours. They didn't say give me your money. They didn't ask for it. Actually, whatever they had, people stole from them. All they were telling me was to be truthful, to worship that one God that we're supposed to worship, to love each other, all of those things, right? And I was baffled. Why would humanity kill and persecute somebody like that, who's calling you to good stuff? It was baffling, right? That's exactly what Baha'u'llah is asking. It's like, did they say that he was because he wanted to be a leader? Gracious God, gracious God, in his book, which he hath entitled Qayyamul Asma, the first, the greatest and mightiest of all books. The first, the greatest and mightiest of all books, he professed his own martyrdom. That was within the first 2,000 verses he had revealed to Mullah Hussain on the very first night. Within those already contained the prophecy of his end, on how his end would be. You think somebody who knows this is what they will do to you goes ahead and still does this all through the years? Most of us won't, can't. Go on.
Still today, our Irani friends are getting tortured.
Yes. Yes.
So what is the remedy? Why these old people are not getting courage to say this is wrong?
Well, it's not just them though. I mean, I got beaten for becoming a Baha'i. I know most of the Baha'is, first generation Baha'is, who go through a loss of hardship for becoming that way. That's how human beings are. O thou remnant of God. That's Bob's words, by the way. This is first one Baha'u'llah's quoting from it. O thou remnant of God, I have sacrificed. That's another name of Baha'u'llah, remnant of God. Right? O thou remnant of God, I have sacrificed myself wholly for thee. I have accepted curses for thy sake, and have yearned for naught but martyrdom in the path of thy love. Sufficient witness unto me is God, the exalted, the protector, the ancient of days. He was preparing us so Baha'u'llah could be manifested, and we wouldn't do what we did to Baha'u'llah anyway. And all of them have been doing this, so we will come to the next one. So we'll come to the next one and we won't torture them. Go on.
Likewise, in his interpretation of the letter Ha, he
craved martyrdom.
Saying,
gracious God.
Yes.
Methinks I heard a voice calling in my inmost being, do thou sacrifice
the thing which thou lovest most in the path of God, even as Hussein, peace be upon him, hath offered up his life to my sake.
And were I not regardful of this inevitable mystery, by him who hath my being between his hands, even if all the kings of the earth,
if all the kings of the earth were to be leagued together, they would be powerless to take from me a single letter.
how much less can these servants are worthy of no attention, and who verily are of the outcast, that all may know the degree of my patience, my resignation, and self-sacrifice.
Sacrifice in the path of God. These are from Qayyamul Asma. We talked about it a little bit, right? Like we are stuck in our situations often, we can't get out. But that's not the case with manifestations of God. They chose to suffer this so we could learn. Yeah. If you think about this for a few minutes, it opens up a very different life ahead of you and its meanings. They take these sufferings, all of these sufferings upon themselves. They could have just walked away. You could have chosen not to even come to this earth, never to be here. And they come and they take all these sufferings onto themselves. And that's why the whole analogy of Christ dying for our sins, by the way. He died for our sins because we're sinful, and they take all these sufferings upon themselves so we could be cleansed. You could see these examples and be better. Could the revealer of such utterance be regarded as walking any way but the way of God?
And as having yearned for aught else except his good pleasure,
In this very verse, there lieth concealed,
a breath of detachment.
which, if it were to be breathed full upon the world, all beings will renounce their lives and sacrifice their souls. Reflect upon the villainous behavior of this generation and witness
their astounding ingratitude.
Observe how they have closed their eyes to all this glory and are abjectly pursuing those foul curses from whose bellies ascended the cry of the swallowed substance of the faithful. And yet, what unseemly calumnies they have hurled against those dayspring of holiness. Thus do we recount unto thee that which the hands of the infidels have wrought, they who in the day of resurrection have turned their
face away from the divine presence, whom God had tormented with the fire of their own misbelief,
and for whom he had prepared in the world to come a chastisement which shall be
devour both their bodies and souls.
For these have said, God is powerless, and his hand of mercy is fettered.
Those who are after leadership and riches don't ask for death. Do we get the theme? Those who are after truth don't care for anything. Even unto death they will proclaim it. Steadfastness in the faith is a sure testimony
and a glorious evidence of the truth, even as the seal of
the prophets. Remember Baha'u'llah, as soon as he touched that theme, he calls Prophet Muhammad always the seal of the prophets. So when you're teaching, when Muslims say that he is, say yes, he is. That's what Baha'u'llah says, he is.
Had said, two verses
have made me old.
Both these verses are indicative of constancy in the cause of God. Even as he said, be thou
steadfast as thou hast been bidden. The hardest thing. Go
ahead. Kazana, sorry.
What these two verses are?
I was just asking.
I don't know. Baha'u'llah says both of these are indicative of steadfastness. One of them he quotes, be thou steadfastness as thou hast been bidden. The other one will be similar, right? So all their lives, they have to keep on proclaiming this thing that everybody is rejecting. And those of us who have lost families and countries over this, you finally understand how hard all of this was for them. And they've done it over and over and over.
Zala, I mean, just to clarify. So it says two verses have made me old. So one about
Prophet Muhammad said that two verses have made me old. Baha'u'llah saying
so does that indicate that made me old as in I'm not the last one? And there are
it's to me, my understanding is like makes you tired. You're so tired.
Oh, okay.
Right, when you say that I've been go through so much that I have gone older earlier, right?
Okay.
It's in that kind of vein, I believe.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Thanks.
And it's very, very tiring. I can vouch for that. Because just because they don't want to believe it, it doesn't say that you go away and do your own thing, right? The same is asked of us too. All of our lives, you stay steadfast and you teach. You keep on doing it, no matter what the answer is from others. And now,
and now consider how this Sadr of the Rizwan of God had
Sadra,
the prime of youth.
Mantaha, the last tree. Now he's talking the Bab as that. All of them are that last tree. Sadratul Mantaha. Sadra of the Rizwan of God hath in the prime of youth.
Risen to proclaim the cause of God. Behold what steadfastness that the beauty of God hath revealed. The whole world rose to hinder
him, yet it utterly failed.
The more severe the persecution they inflicted on that Sadhar of
Sadra.
blessedness.
Sadra means Prihan.
The more his fervor increased and the brighter burned.
His love.
All this is evident, and none disputed its truth. Finally, he surrendered his soul and winged his flight unto the realms above.
We're still talking about Bob. It's my turn. Is it my turn or Farzana's? Mine? Okay.
Yes.
And among the, I know I'm between Farzana and Hari both, my top favorite people. And among the evidences of the truth of his manifestation were the ascendancy, the transcendent power and supremacy, which he, the revealer of being and manifestation of the adored, hath, unaided and alone, revealed throughout the world. No sooner had that eternal beauty revealed himself in Shiraz in the year 60, which is 1260, which is the end of Islamic dispensation, according to the lunar calendar, Hijrah, 1260. 1260 is mentioned over and over again in the revelation of St. John in the Bible. And rent asunder the veil of concealment, then the signs of the ascendancy, the might, the sovereignty and power emanating from that essence of essences and sea of seas were manifest in every land. So much so that from every city there appeared the signs, the evidences, the tokens, the testimonies of that divine luminary. How many were those pure and kindly hearted, which faithfully reflected the light of that eternal sun, and how manifold the emanations of knowledge from the ocean of divine wisdom, which encompassed all beings. In every city, all the divines and dignitaries rose to hinder and repress them, and girded up the lions of malice, of envy and tyranny for their suppression. How great the number of those holy souls, those essences of justice, who, accused of tyranny, were put to death, and how many embodiments of purity, who showed forth not but true knowledge and stainless deeds, suffered an agonizing death. Notwithstanding all this, each of these holy beings, up to his last moment, breathed the name of God and soared in a realm of submission and resignation. Such was the potency and transmuting influence which he exercised over them. Such was the potency and transmuting influence which he exercised over them, that they ceased to cherish any desire but his will, and wedded their soul to his remembrance. That they ceased to cherish any desire but his will, and wedded their souls to his remembrance. That's what we are called for to do. Reflect who in this world is able to manifest such transcendent power.
Such pervading influence. All these stainless hearts and sanctified souls have, with absolute resignation, responded to the summons of his
decree.
Instead of complaining, they rendered thanks unto God, and amidst the darkness of their anguish, they revealed naught but radiant acquiescence to his will. It is evident how relentless was the hate and how bitter the malice and enmity entertained by all the peoples of the earth towards these companions. The persecution and pain they inflicted on these holy and spiritual beings were regarded by them as means unto salvation, prosperity, and everlasting success. Had the world
Since the day of Adam witnessed such tumult, such violent commotion, notwithstanding all the torture they suffered and manifold the afflictions they endured, they became the object of universal opprobrium and execration. Methinks patience was revealed only by virtue of their fortitude, and faithfulness itself was begotten only by their deeds. What a tribute from the supreme manifestation of God for those early years. And yes, the history of mankind has never seen anything like this, even though we tortured believers and every dispensation. But the magnitude and what had taken place is just amazing. Just amazing. Those of you, if you have not read Dawnbreakers, please get to it. Do thou ponder these momentous happenings in thy heart, so that thou mayest apprehend the greatness of this revelation and perceive its stupendous glory. Then shall the spirit of faith, through the grace of the merciful, be breathed into thy being, and thou shalt be established and abide upon the seat of certitude.
The one God is my witness. Wert thou to ponder a while, thou wilt recognize that apart from all these established truths and above mentioned evidences, the repudiation,
pay attention to this, is a key. The repudiation, cursing, and execration pronounced by the people of the earth are in themselves the mightiest proof and the surest testimony of the truth. The more true you are, the more you'll be persecuted, by the way. Remember that always. But having the truth in your heart in itself is a reward. Do try to see that, because you could have been those other people who are throwing stones at the manifestation, and you're not. God has granted you a different heart, and that in itself is such a reward already. Go on.
Of these heroes of the field of resignation and detachment, whenever thou dost meditate upon the cavils uttered by all
the peoples, be they divines, learned or ignorant, the firmer and the more steadfast will thou grow in the faith.
For whatsoever had come to pass
hath
had
been prophesied
by them who are the minds of divine knowledge and recipients of God's eternal law.
Yeah. So in your rest of your life, if you ever get down, we will have mountains and valleys all the time, by the way. Yeah. Whenever life gets hard and you get down, pick up the Dawnbreakers and read it. It will uplift you up to the mountain again.
Although we do not intend to make mention of the traditions of a bygone age, yet because of our love for thee, we will cite a few which are applicable to our argument. We do not feel the necessity, however,
so this down, highlight this. Here's Baha'u'llah's claim about Kitab-e-Iqan itself. Yeah, I often quote this when we announce the classes. As much as the things we have already mentioned suffice the world and all that is therein. In fact, all the scriptures and the mysteries thereof are condensed into this brief account, this Kitab-e-Iqan. So much so that were a person to ponder it a while in his heart, he would discover from all that hath been said the mysteries of the words of God, all the words of God, and would apprehend the meaning of whatever hath been manifested by that ideal king, whatever hath been manifested. And if you take this as a matter of principle, how to dissect knowledge and how to dissect truth and take it, it helps you in all fields to get better and how to know things and how to find truth. Got that?
As the people differ in their understanding and station, we will accordingly make mention of a few traditions, and that these may impart constancy
to the wavering soul. Rihanna, here he's talking about that capacity that is ordained and yet is different in different people. And he's asked
Yes.
to teach the same way too, right?
Yes.
Teach from, to have all different levels and be cognizant of the need of the seeker. Yeah. It shouldn't be what I want to give them. It should be what is it that they need. And so if we are really deepened in the scripture, then you have everything in under your hood. Then you're actually able to look at the seeker and say, okay, I need to give them this side. I need to teach them this way first. Yeah. Go on.
tranquility to the troubled mind. Thereby will the testimony of God unto the people, both high and low, be complete and perfect.
Yeah. Among them is a tradition, and when the standard of truth is made manifest, the people of both the east and the west curse it. And we have witnessed that, right? Under 78 years now, we witness that every day.
The wine of renunciation must needs be quaffed. The lofty heights of detachment must needs be attained, and the meditation referred to in the words
1 hour's, highlight that in many colors. 1 hour's reflection is preferable to 70 years of pious worship.
Must needs be observed, so that the secret of the wretched behavior of the
people might be discovered. Those people who,
despite the love and yearning for truth which they profess, curse the followers of
truth when once he hath been made manifest.
To this truth, the above mentioned tradition beareth witness. It is evident that the reason for such behaviors is none
other than the annulment of those rules, customs, habits, and ceremonials to which they have been subjected.
Otherwise, where the beauty of the merciful
to comply with those same rules and customs
which are current amongst the people, and were he to sanction their observance, such conflict
and mischief would in no wise be made manifest in the world.
This exalted tradition is attested and substantiated by these words which he has revealed. The day when
the summoner shall summon to a stern business. And this was another of my questions from a very young age. Reading the prophecies of the last days for how hard it would be and how the believers would be tortured, it actually graphically has been described both in Christianity and Islam of the last day. And some of those things, like when you're seeing like Solomon Khan's tortures and other things, you're like, wow, I mean, these stories have been told that this is what will be done to the believers. And when I was reading those, the very first question arose in my head was this. I could not understand it, because I was like, if he's coming to renew my faith, which the common belief is that he will give you exactly what you had, why such tortures? If you give them what they want, why some tortures? That's exactly what Baha'u'llah is quoting here. You see that why I dance on this book? It was like as if he was, while I was asking those questions and I didn't know him, he was already writing the answers long time ago for me, yeah? And for you. Just amazing. The divine call of the celestial herald.
The divine call of the celestial herald from the beyond the veil of glory, summoning mankind to renounce utterly all the things to which they cleave, in repugnant to their desire. And this is the cause of the bitter travails and violent commotions which have occurred.
So this is the persecute, right? Summoning mankind to renounce utterly all the things to which they cleave, is repugnant to their desire, because they want to keep on having the same stuff. And this is the cause of the bitter trials and violent commotions.
They ignore these well-founded traditions, all of which they have fulfilled, and cling unto those
All
of
of which have
doubtful
been fulfilled. And yes, all of them have been fulfilled.
and ask why they have not been fulfilled. And yet, those things which to them were inconceivable
Achievable
have
have
been
been manifest.
manifest. The signs and tokens of the truth shine even as the midday sun, and yet the people are wandering aimlessly and perplexedly in the wilderness of the ignorance and folly, notwithstanding all the verses of the Quran and recognized traditions, which all are indicative of a new faith,
A new
a
faith,
new
a
law.
new law, and a new revelation.
This generation still waiteth in expectation of beholding the promised one, who should uphold the law of
of the
Muhammad.
Mohammedan dispensation. The laws and the Jews and the Christians in like manner uphold the same contentions. The Bible quote unquote says the New Testament that he will be given a new name. His community will be given a new name. Quote unquote, it says that. And all the people will still contend you over that. It's amazing. It's amazing when we are blind, how blind we are. Is it 8:30 or 9:30? I wonder if my watch is wrong. No, it's 8:30, so we have an hour. Make sense? It's so Baha'u'llah is saying all the prophecies have come true. And Dawnbreaker was the first book I read cover to cover after I became a Baha'i. I was very, very, very new Baha'i within my first few months. And I was amazed. I grew up on those prophecies and stuff. And I was amazed without anybody telling me, from my memory for what I've studied. I was like, wow, this fulfills this fulfills this fulfills this. It was amazing journey. And here we are still, most of the world is blind and won't take it. Among the utterances
that foreshadow a new law and a new revelation are the passages in the prayer of Nedbe where he who is
preserved and
where he who is preserved to
ordinances and laws, renew the ordinances and laws. Where is he who hath the authority to transform the faith and the followers thereof?
He hath likewise revealed in the Ziyarat, peace be upon the truth made new. Abu Ubaidillah questioned concerning the character of the Mahdi and answered saying, he will perform that which Muhammad, the messenger of God, had performed, and will demolish whatever had been before him, even as the messenger of God had demolished
the ways of those that preceded him. These are the traditions of the Imams. You have Imam Ali and the fifth Imam. Behold how sorry?
Yeah, Ryan.
Behold how, notwithstanding these and similar traditions, they idly contend that the laws formerly revealed must in no wise be altered, and yet is not the object.
Yet, here, highlight this very much, please. And yet is not the object of every revelation to effect a transformation in the whole character of mankind, a transformation that shall manifest itself both outwardly and inwardly. That shall affect both its inner life and external conditions. But if the character of mankind be not changed, this is a touchstone for ourselves, by the way, right? If we are not Baha'is according to the writings, then we are not Baha'is. For if the character of mankind be not changed, the futility of God's universal manifestations would be apparent. So what is the main purpose of religion? Transformation. Our transformation, that our characters are transformed, that we live differently, yeah? We live with each other differently, we love each other differently, we are differently friends than what the world is doing. We differently move forward. We transform for that new civilization. It builds upon our characters. In the Awalim, go on.
In the Avalim, an authoritative and well-known book, it is recorded.
A youth from Bani Hashim shall be made manifest, who will reveal a new book and promulgate a new law.
Then follow these words. Most of his enemies will be the divines.
Most of his enemies will be the divines.
In another passage, it is related of Sadiq.
Sadiq, son of Muhammad, 6th Imam,
that he spoke the following. There shall appear a youth from Bani Hashim.
Bani Hashim is the tribe of Prophet Muhammad, by the way. So it was prophetic that Bob's lineage would be from Prophet Muhammad.
Who will bid the people plight fealty unto him.
Take an oath means take an oath unto him. Prophet Muhammad used to take an oath from those who became believers.
His book will be a new book unto which he shall summon the people to pledge their faith. Stern is his revelation unto the Arab. If ye hear about him,
hasten unto him. How well have they followed the directions of the imams of the faith.
And lamps of certitude. Although it is clearly stated, were ye to hear that a youth from Bani Hashim had appeared, summoning the people unto a new and divine book and to new and divine laws, has
hasten unto him. Hurry up, hurry to go to him. Yeah.
Yet have they all declared that Lord of being an infidel, had pronounced him a heretic.
They hasten not unto that Hashemite light, that divine manifestation. We're talking about the Bab. They hasten not unto that Hashemite light, that divine manifestation, except with drawn swords and hearts filled with malice. Moreover, observe how explicitly the enmity of the divines hath been mentioned.
Mentioned in the books. Notwithstanding all these evident and significant traditions, all these unmistakable and undisputed allusions, the people have rejected the immaculate essence of knowledge and holy utterance, and have turned unto the exponents of rebellion and error. Despite these recorded traditions and revealed utterances, they speak
on that which is prompted by their own selfish desires.
And should the essence of truth reveal that which is contrary to their inclinations and desires,
contrary to their inclinations and desires, they will straightway denounce him as an infidel.
And will protest, saying, this is contrary to the saying of the imams of the faith and of the resplendent lights. No such thing had been provided by our inviolable law. Even so, in this day, such
worthless statements have been and are being made by these poor mortals. Yeah. And it's the same situation for ourselves too. Whenever you will find us, the believers, contending with each other over anything, you know that we are not turning to the writings. You will always know that. If you all turn to the writings, we will have no contentions. And now?
And now consider this other tradition and observe how all these things have been foretold in Araba, in its recorded
Arba'in means the 4 books.
Arba'in in its recorded, out of Bani Hashim there shall come forth
a youth who shall reveal new laws. Baha'u'llah is mentioning all the 4 or 5 major Shia traditional books, by the way, that if they actually studied that, they should know these things.
He shall summon the people unto him, but none will heed his call. Most of his enemies will be the divines. His biddings they will not obey, but will protest, saying, "This is contrary to that which had been handed down unto us by the imams of the faith." In this day, all are repeating these very same words, utterly unaware that he is established upon the throne of he doeth
whatsoever he willeth, and abideth upon the seat of he ordaineth whatsoever he pleaseth.
He pleaseth.
So one of the challenge for the Muslims was that according to their understanding of the prophecies, the Bab was supposed to be just a renewer of stuff and not a manifestation, a prophet in his own right. So when he abrogated the law and brought the new book, they said, no, 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 you have no right to do this. That was their major challenge. Yeah. And that's why the major persecution started after 1848, after the conference of Badasht, because that's when the new laws were revealed. And it was obvious that this was a new revelation, a new manifestation. No understanding and grasp the nature of explanation. Sorry, go on.
I want one clarification.
Yeah.
The Bab's struggle was much more higher than other manifestation. Is it true?
Every manifestation suffers more than the previous one, Baha'u'llah says.
No, but the Bab is the greatest, greater than Baha'u'llah.
No, no one is greater than the other.
Because I read somewhere that all the manifestation came, he just accept past religion, past manifest, and gave prophecy of the next. But the Bab is the one who did double role. Who did the double role. So his suffering was more.
Baha'u'llah says, and I'll repeat again, Baha'u'llah says, every manifestation suffers more than the previous one. And therefore, in this book alone, he had quoted that Prophet Muhammad said, no one has suffered as I did. And then, but Prophet Muhammad became almost king of the community within his lifetime, and we see it very differently. And yet Baha'u'llah quotes that. And then the Bab was killed, and Christ was killed, and some of them were not physically killed, but all were persecuted. And Baha'u'llah says, I have suffered more than anyone else has. And then Baha'u'llah says that my heart crieth for the one who cometh after me. So for me personally, it's to make comparison to me personally, because Baha'u'llah says there should be no comparison, is blasphemy in a sense. I'll only use a personal example that for me personally, dying in 2 days is easier than living a life in prison for 40 years. Having yourself dead is easier than having your son killed in front of your eyes. Won't you all agree? Most of you are parents.
All right.
Baha'u'llah had to endure that. Yeah. And yet we are not making comparisons. We should not be making comparisons, because everyone, as Baha'u'llah says, and I acknowledge that and I see it, everyone suffers more than the previous one, because we torture them more than the previous ones. And that's why his heart cries for the next one, because our capacity to torture becomes larger with every manifestation. Yeah. So whatever we read, again, this is a good point though, Rihanna John, and we should take a lesson from this, that whatever we read, people commentaries on what is what should be measured with the book. And if they have a commentary that is contrary to what Baha'u'llah says or the Bab says, then it is contrary, if that's their own opinion. Make sense?
No understanding can grasp the nature of his
No
revelation.
understanding can grasp the nature of his revelation, nor can any knowledge comprehend the full measure of his faith.
All saying are dependent upon his sanction.
All things are dependent upon his sanction, on the Bab's sanction, right? And all things stand in need of his cause. All else save him are created by his command. We're talking about God here, and then manifestation of God. They do whatsoever they will, and all of us are created through that word. All else save him are created by his command. Let's stop because that thing has touched some place in my soul, about the more or less suffering of the prophets. It is the same issue that hinders most of the Christians from becoming anything else, by the way, because they have taken Christ's suffering as more than anything else in the world. Anything else in the world, therefore they cannot walk away from it. That's their token. So be very careful about these things, yeah.
And move and have their being through his law. He is the revealer of the divine mysteries, and the expounder of the hidden and ancient wisdom. Thus, it is related in the
Anwar, the Avalim, and the Yambu of Sadiq, son of Muhammad, the sixth Imam.
That he spoke these words. Knowledge is 20 and 7 letters. All the prophets have revealed
two letters thereof. 2 letters thereof.
No man thus far hath known more than these 2 letters. But when the Qaim shall arise, he will cause the remaining 20 and 5 letters. Consider, he had declared knowledge to consist of 20 and 7 letters, and regarded all the prophets from Adam even unto the seal as
Prophet Muhammad as exponents of only 2 letters.
Thereof, and of having been sent down with these 2 letters. He also said that the Qaim will reveal all the remaining 20 and 5 letters. Behold, from the utterance,
how great and lofty is his station. His rank excelleth that of all the prophets.
And his revelation transcends the comprehension and understanding of all their chosen ones. A revelation of which the prophets of God his saints and chosen ones have either not been informed, or which in
God's inscrutable decree they have not disclosed.
Such a revelation, this means
depraved people
have sought to measure with their own deficient learning and understanding. Should it fail to conform to their standards, they reject it. Thinkest thou that the greater part of them hear or understand. They are even like unto the
roots, yea, they stray even further from the true path. So he's talking about the Bob. And it is true that all communities were waiting for a herald, but we did not quite understand what his full station would be. And that's what hindered people majorly, especially Muslims at that time. And he's not just a herald, by the way. We need to be very careful. The Baha'is themselves kind of belittle it often, as if, there is reason why he presides over this faith together with Baha'u'llah until the next manifestation, right? The dispensation of Baha'u'llah, we should study that, Guardian's work, dispensation of Baha'u'llah, where he delineates these stations. He says the Bab and Baha'u'llah jointly together preside over the destinies of this faith. They're one and the same twin manifestations. That's why we do everything as together for them. And it matters, yeah.
How, we wonder, do they explain the aforementioned tradition, a tradition which, in unmistakable terms, foreshadoweth the revelation of things inscrutable and the occurrence of new and wondrous events in his day? Such marvelous happenings kindle so great a strife amongst the people that all the divines and doctors sentenced him and his companions to death. And all the
peoples of the earth arise to oppose him.
Even as it hath been recorded in the Kafi, in the tradition of Jabir, in the tablet of Fatima, concerning the character of the Kaim, he shall
manifest the perfection of Moses, the splendor of Jesus, and the patience of Job. His chosen ones shall be abased in his day. Their heads shall be offered as presents, even as the heads of the Turks and the Delamites. They shall be slain and burnt. I knew this prophecy since I was 5 years old. They shall be slain and burnt. Fear shall seize them. Dismay and alarm shall strike terror into their hearts. The earth shall be dyed with their blood. Their women folk shall bewail and lament. These indeed are my friends.
Consider, not a single letter of this tradition hath remained unfulfilled. In most of the places their blessed blood hath been shed. In every city they have been made captives, have been paraded throughout the provinces, and some have been burned with fire. And yet no one
had paused to reflect. No one had paused to reflect that if the promised Qayyim shall reveal the law and ordinances of a former dispensation, why then should such traditions have been recorded? And why should there arise such a decree of strife and conflict?
That the people should regard the slaying of his companions as an obligation imposed upon them, and deem the persecution of these holy souls as a means of attaining unto the highest favor.
Moreover,
observe how these things that have come to pass, and the acts which have been perpetrated have all been mentioned in former traditions, even as it had been recorded in the
Rawzai Kafi concerning Zahra.
In the
Rawzai Kafi.
Kafi, it is related to
Muawiyah. This is not the Muawiyah, the second, the false caliph. It's another Muawiyah.
Son of Wahab, that Abu Abdullah had spoken. Knowest thou, Sarah? I said, may my life be a sacrifice unto thee.
They say it is Baghdad.
Nay, he answered, and then added, Hast thou entered
Thou
the
entered the city of Ray. Ray is the old name of Tehran.
To which I made reply, Yea, I have entered it. Whereupon he inquired, Didst thou visit the cattle market? Yea, I answered. He said, Hast thou seen the black mountain on the
Black
right?
mountain on the right hand side of the road. The same is Zora. There shall 80 men of the children of certain ones be slain, all of whom are worthy to be called caliphs. Who will slay them? I asked. He made reply, children of Persia. These are the persecutions of 1852. 80 of them were tortured to death in Tehran. And Baha'u'llah was in Siacho. Wow.
Such is a condition and fate of his companions, which in former days had been foretold. And now observe how, according to this tradition,
There
Zawra,
is no other but the land of Ray, Tehran.
in that place his companions have been with great suffering put to death, and all these holy beings have suffered martyrdom at
Martyrdom
the
at the
hand
hands of the Persians.
as recorded in the tradition. This thou hast heard, and unto it all testify.
Wherefore then, do not these groveling worm-like men pause to meditate upon these traditions?
All of which are manifest as the sun in its noontide glory. For what do they refuse to embrace the truth and allow certain traditions, the significance of which they have failed to
They
grasp?
have failed to grasp.
To withhold them from the recognition of the revelation of God and His beauty, and to cause them to dwell in the infernal abysses. Abyss. Such things are to be attributed to naught but
the faithlessness of the divines and doctors of the age.
of these. Sadiq, son of Muhammad, had
16.
said,
The religious doctors of that age shall be the most wicked of the divines beneath the shadow of heaven. Out of them hath mischief proceeded, and unto them it shall return. We entreat thee, learned men of Bayan, which means now ours. We entreat the learned men of Bayan not to follow in such ways. Baha'u'llah is warning their own leadership. We entreat the learned men of the Bayan not to follow in such ways. We often have this false idea that these things cannot happen to us. If they cannot happen to us, why such warnings? Go on.
Not to inflict
Time of mustaghas. Time of mustaghas. This word caused that those Babis that did not become Baha'is, they were among other things, they were stuck on this. Mustaghas means 19 or 1900. So they stuck with 1900, and they said, because he should not be made manifest until 1900 years after the law. But the actual meaning of it is 19, and Baha'u'llah was manifested 19 years after the law. Again, commentaries. Don't run after commentaries.
Who is the divine essence, the heavenly light, the absolute eternity, the beginning and the end of the manifestations of the invisible, that which had been inflicted in this day. We beg them not to depend
upon their intellect. We beg them not to depend upon their intellect, their comprehensions and learnings.
Not to contend with the revealer of the celestial and infinite knowledge. And yet, notwithstanding all these abominations,
we perceive that a one-eyed man, this was an Islamic prophecy of Dajjal, his name was, a one-eyed man that would torture the believers at the time of the end. Baha'u'llah is mentioning him. We perceive that a one-eyed man who himself is the chief of the people is arising with the utmost malevolence against us. This was Mullah Isfahani, the one who beguiled Mirza Yahya, remember? He was one-eyed, literally.
In Islam, he was,
sorry?
In Islamic tradition, he was Kareem, one-eyed.
Both are.
Okay,
Kareem was the Antichrist of the Babi dispensation, and Mirza Isfahani with Mirza Yahya is the Baha'i dispensation's Antichrist. It is actually quite interesting when we were talking about this when I was doing the Kitab-e-Iqan class in Haifa. If some of you have attended that, remember we invited Mr. Dunbar a couple of times, and he has written compiled a companion book with it, where all of these things that I'm telling you, he has written about them, right? Like Kausar means this and such, those things to help those who don't understand these references. So when it came to that, I asked him and I said, he doesn't mention this in the book. And this is a major prophecy of Islam. At the time of the end, this one-eyed guy would be the Antichrist. So therefore I said the Antichrist was Kareem Khan, because he was one-eyed and he had done all of those things that were prophesied. And Mr. Dunbar had said that in one place, the Guardian says in God Passes By, actually, that it was Isfahani who was the Antichrist. So quite a number of years later, then after we left, and he left after us a little while back, but while he was still in Haifa, he actually sent me an email and he said, he remembered the conversation and he said, it's very interesting, and we both were right, and you were right, that it's the Kareem Khan who is the Antichrist of the Babi dispensation. And some new documents that came into his knowledge, he had seen that Isfahani was even one-eyed as well, physically speaking. So both of those guys are an Antichrist of two dispensations.
And what about Dajjal?
Dajjal is this guy. Dajjal is the name of the Antichrist of both the Bab and Baha'u'llah. So it will be, that's what we are saying, it will be Haji Kareem Khan and Isfahani. Isfahani.
We foresee that in every city, people will arise to suppress the blessed beauty, that the companions of that Lord of being and ultimate desire of all men will flee from the face of the oppressor and seek refuge from him in the wilderness, whilst others will resign themselves and, with absolute detachment, will sacrifice their lives in his path.
Methinks we can discern one who is reputed for such devoutness and piety that men deem it an obligation to obey him. This is a mention of Mirza Yahya, his own brother, and to whose command they consider it necessary to submit, who will arise to assail the very root of the divine tree. This prophecy was fulfilled within a few years when they were banished to Adrianople, remember? That's when both of their true colors were fully revealed to all the believers and mankind.
And endeavor to the uttermost of his power to resist and oppose him. Such is the way of the people.
It's you.
It's yourself, Didi.
Sorry?
It's your turn.
It is your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. Baha'u'llah has said, by the way, that if it was not for Isfahani, Mirza Yahya would have not dared do what he did. So be careful about those evil whisperers. We fain would hope that the people of the Bayan will be enlightened, will soar in the realm of the spirit and abide therein, will discern the truth and recognize with the eye of insight, dissembling falsehood. In these days, however, such odors of jealousy are diffused, that I swear by the educator of all beings, visible and invisible, from the beginning of the foundation of the world, though it hath no beginning, until the present day, such malice, envy, and hate have in no wise appeared, nor will they ever be witnessed in the future. Malice, envy, and hate, you see around yourself, these are wreaking havoc still in our communities. Such malice, envy, and hate have in no wise appeared, nor will they ever be witnessed in the future. Future to me would be next dispensation, by the way, right? For a number of people who have never inhaled the fragrance of justice, the fragrance of justice, it requires a fair and just mind to see merit in others, by the way. Yeah. So I say, for me, if you have higher merit than me, I am willing to polish your shoes. Yeah. Cultivate that inside yourself. It's a safety. When you see somebody has merit, acknowledge it. It's only fair and just. If you are that, you will not have envy, malice, and hate in your heart. Okay? Your own place is good enough for you. For a number of people who have never, that's what caused Mirza Yahya to do all of that. It was total jealousy of Baha'u'llah's merits. For a number of people who have never inhaled the fragrance of justice, have raised the standard of sedition, and have leagued themselves against us. Baha'u'llah is talking about himself now. On every side, we witness the menace of their spears, and in all directions, we recognize the shafts of their arrows. This, although we have never gloried in anything, nor did we seek preference over any soul. To everyone, we have been a most kindly companion, a most forbearing and affectionate friend. In the company of the poor, we have sought their fellowship, and amidst the exalted and learned, we have been submissive and resigned. I swear by God, the one true God, grievous as have been the woes and sufferings which the hand of the enemy and the people of the book inflicted upon us. Highlight this. Baha'u'llah is lamenting. Yet all these fade into utter nothingness. All these fade into utter nothingness when compared with that which hath befallen us at the hands of those who profess to be our friends. Yet all these fade into utter nothingness when compared with that which hath befallen us at the hands of those who profess to be our friends. Paula says, when we do wrong, it hurts him the deepest.
What more shall we say? The universe were it to gaze with the eye of justice,
were it to be gazed with the eye of justice, would be incapable of bearing the weight of this utterance.
In the earthly days of our arrival in this land, when we discerned the signs of impending events, we decided ere they happened to retire.
He's talking about Suleymania. He's gone for 2 years.
We took ourselves to the wilderness and there separated and alone, led for 2 years a life of complete solitude.
From our eyes there rained tears of anguish, and in our bleeding heart there surged an ocean of agonizing pain.
Many a night we had no food for sustenance, and many a day our body found no rest. By him who had my being between his hands, notwithstanding these showers of afflictions and unceasing calamities, her soul was wrapped in blissful joy, and her whole being evinced an ineffable gladness. For in our solitude, we were unaware of the harm or benefit, the health or ailment of any soul. Alone we communed with our spirit, oblivious of the world and all that is there. We knew not, however, that the mesh of divine destiny exceeded the the vastest of mortal conceptions, and the dart of his victory transcended the boldest of human designs. None can escape the snares he setteth, and no soul can find release except through submission to his will. By the righteousness of God, our withdrawal
All contemplated no return.
and our separation hoped for no reunion. The one object of our retirement was to avoid becoming
a subject of discord among the faithful.
A source of disturbance unto our companions, the means of injury to any soul, or the cause of sorrow to any heart. Beyond this, we cherish no other intention, and apart from them, we had no end in view. And yet each person
schemed after his own desire, pursued his own idle fancy until the hour when from the mystic source there came the summons bidding us return whence we came, surrendering our will to his. We submitted to his intention. Baha'u'llah had left with a kashkol and one raiment he was wearing, and he took one servant with him who was killed before he reached the Sulaimaniya. So Baha'u'llah was alone for 2 years after that.
What pen can recount the things we beheld upon our return? 2 years have elapsed during which our enemies have ceaselessly and assiduously contrived to exterminate us, whereunto all witness. Nevertheless, none amongst
the faithful, highlight this by the way, none amongst the faithful had risen to render us any assistance.
Nor did anyone feel inclined to help in our deliverance. Nay, instead of assisting us, what showers of continuous sorrow their words and deeds have caused to rain upon our soul. Amidst them all,
we stand life in hand, wholly resigned to his will, that perchance through God's loving kindness and his grace, this revealed and manifest letter may lay down his life as a sacrifice in the path of the final point, the most exalted word. Anybody knows where else these words show up? It is in the beginning of the Dawnbreakers. The Guardian had put this. It was many years later, towards I don't remember exactly what year, when the main manuscript of Iqan was returned to Holy Land, and the Guardian had it. I believe there were 5 copies made right away when Baha'u'llah revealed this and was sent to different believers. The main one was written in Abdul Baha's hand that had gone to the Bab's uncle. And it was one of his family members that finally returned to when the Guardian was, I don't know if it was around when he was building the archives or before, but somewhere around that time. There were some pilgrims at the table when the Guardian received the manuscript, and he used to show it to the pilgrims and he would read it. And he opened it and he was going through it, and he was overcome by emotion at some point. And he went quiet for a while. This little paragraph in the original copy of the Iqan is written in Baha'u'llah's own hand in the margins. The Guardian had chosen this, not having the original in his hand, he had chosen this to add to the initial pages of the Dawnbreakers. It's quite an amazing thing. Where Baha'u'llah is saying he wants to sacrifice himself for the Bab.
by him at whose bidding the Spirit had spoken. But for this yearning of our soul, we would not, for one moment, have tarried any longer in this city. Sufficient witness is God unto us. We conclude our argument with the words, there is no power nor strength but in God alone. We are God's, and to him shall we return. So
They that have hearts to understand.
They that have hearts to understand, they that have quaffed the wine of love, who have not for one moment gratified their selfish desires, will behold, resplendent as the sun in its noontide glory, those tokens, testimonies, and evidences that attest the truth of this wondrous revelation.
This transcendent and divine faith.
Reflect how the people have rejected the beauty of God and have clung unto their
Covetous
desires. Notwithstanding all these consummate verses and these unmistakable allusions, which have been revealed in the most weighty revelation, the trust of God amongst men, and despite these evident traditions, even more manifest, each more manifest than the most explicit utterance, and the people have ignored and repudiated their truth, and have held fast to the letter of certain traditions, which, according to their understanding, they have found inconsistent with their expectations, and the meaning of which they have failed to grasp.
They have shattered every hope and deprived themselves of the pure wine of the all glorious, the fair and incorruptible waters of the immortal beauty. Covetous desires. Coveting is forbidden in the 10 Commandments. Covetous means you want things others have and not what you should have.
And even covet is mentioned in hidden words also.
Yes, it's a mortal sin.
Consider that even the year in which the quintessence of light is to be made manifest had been specifically recorded in the traditions. Yet they still remain unmindful, nor do they for one moment cease to pursue their selfish desire. According to the tradition, Mufaddal asked Sadiq saying, "What of the sign of his manifestation, O my master?" He made reply, in the year 60,
his cause shall be made manifest, and his name shall be proclaimed. 1260. Again, Islamic dispensation ends at 1260. It was prophesied in the, as I repeated before, in the Revelation of St. John as well. How strange. We can read a couple more paragraphs. Is it Suleiman?
Yes.
Hi, sweetheart, it's your turn.
How strange, notwithstanding the
So year 60, we all know this, right? The dates are 1260 of Islamic calendar are 1844. Yeah. Gregorian calendar. Go on.
Notwithstanding these explicit and manifest references, these people have shunned the truth. For instance, mention of the sorrows, the imprisonment and afflictions afflicted upon that essence of divine virtue has been made in the former tradition. In the Bihar, it is recorded in the
there shall be 4 signs from 4 prophets: Moses, Jesus, Joseph, and Muhammad.
The signs from Moses is fear and expectations. From Jesus, that which was spoken of him. From Joseph, imprisonment and dissimulation. From Muhammad, the revelation of a book similar to the Quran. Notwithstanding such a conclusive tradition, which in such unmistakable language has foreshadowed the happenings of the present day, None had been found
found
to
to
heed
heed its prophecy. And methinks none will do so in the future.
except him whom thy Lord willeth. God indeed shall make him whom he will to hearken. But we shall not make those
We
who
shall
are
not
in the
make
grave
those
to
who are
hearken.
in their graves to hearken. Graves of selfish desires, right? Not the physical graves.
It is evident unto thee that the birds of heaven and those of eternity speak a twofold language.
Twofold language. The outward language is devoid of illusions, is unconcealed and unveiled, that it may be a guiding lamp and the beaconing light thereof, thereby. That's how the laws are, by the way. In every dispensation, the laws are revealed very, very clearly. They're not symbolic and they're not allegorical because they need to be implemented as they're given.
Whereby wayfarers may attain the heights of holiness and seekers may advance into the realm of eternal reunion. Such are the
Unveiled traditions.
And the evident verses already mentioned. The other language is veiled
and concealed, so that whatever lieth hidden in the heart, why is it concealed? The reason is so that whatever lieth hidden in the heart of the malevolent may be made manifest, and their innermost being be disclosed. And it does, always.
Thus hath Sadiq, son of Muhammad, spoken.
God very will test them, sift them.
This is a divine standard. This is a touchstone of God, wherewith his servants. None
apprehended the meaning of these utterances except them whose hearts are assured. Certitude, Iqan, whose souls have found favor with God and whose minds are detached from all else but him.
In such utterances, the literal meaning as generally understood by the people
is not what hath been intended.
Thus it is recorded, every knowledge hath 70 meanings, of which one only is known amongst the people. And when the Qayyum shall arise, he shall reveal unto men all that which remaineth. He also said, we speak one word, and by it we intend 170
meanings. Each one of these meanings we can explain. And then what did the Bab say about the next manifestation? With all of this, that he was completing all the letters and all the knowledge that was prophesied according to previously, he said, I am but a ring on his finger. The Bab said, I am but a ring on his finger, the one whom God will make manifest. He moveth it as he pleaseth. So again, the immensity of the next, an immensity of the next, an immensity of the next. As Baha'u'llah answered this question in the tabernacle, that every one of them is greater and superior to the previous one. It's inevitable.
These,
I think our time is up. You guys want to read one more paragraph? Go ahead. Read the next paragraph.
these things we mention, only that the people may not be dismayed because of certain traditions and utterances which have not yet been literally fulfilled, that they may rather
attribute their perplexity to their own lack of understanding. We must always learn to do this. If there is a part of scripture you don't understand, don't blame God and scripture that it's wrong. Always look at yourself to say, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. It's my problem.
and not to the non-fulfillment of the promises in the traditions, inasmuch as the meaning intended by the imams of the faith
is not done by these people.
As evidenced by the traditions themselves, the people therefore must not allow such utterances to deprive them of the divine bounties, but should rather seek
enlightenment from them who are the recognized expounders thereof. Who are those? For Muslims, there'll be still 12 Imams. If they want to understand what the Quran means and they don't get it, they should go and find out what the Imams are saying if they don't want to come to Bab and Baha'u'llah. And for the rest of the world and for us, it's Bab and Baha'u'llah and then Abdullah and the Guardian. Period. Finished. End. No one else. Yeah.
so that the hidden mysteries may be unraveled and be made manifest unto them.
So guys, we only have like a little bit left. We can actually finish reading it and then go to our discussion I was offering 2 weeks after next week. Shall we do it? It will take us 10 more minutes to finish reading it. Yeah? Okay, good. Go ahead. Who's next?
We
perceive none, however.
We perceive none, however, amongst the people of the earth who sincerely yearning for the truth.
Sincerely yearning for the truth, seeketh the guidance of the divine manifestations.
Concerning the abstruse matters of his faith, all are dwellers in the land of oblivion, and all are the followers of the people of wickedness and revelation.
Wickedness and rebellion. God will verily do unto them that which they themselves are doing, and will forget them, even as they have ignored his presence in his day. Such is his decree unto those that have denied him, and such will it be unto them that have rejected his signs. Signs are verses, right? Go on, next.
Nanima, it's your chance.
Yes, yes. We conclude our argument with his words. Exalted is he, and whoso
shall withdraw from remembrance of the merciful. Remembrance is a title of the Bab. And whoso shall withdraw from the remembrance of the merciful, we will chain a Satan unto him, and he shall be his fast companion.
And whoso turneth away from my remembrance, truly his shall be a life of misery.
And I often shudder at this thing when I see anywhere that he's kind of brushed aside a lots of times, even in our communities. Remember these verses. Baha'u'llah is quoting them, right? And whoso shall withdraw from the remembrance, from the Bab of the merciful, we will chain a Satan unto him, and he shall be his fast companion. And whoso turneth away from my remembrance, truly his shall be a life of misery.
Same thing in Tablet of Ahmad also.
Yes. Yes.
Thus had it.
Who's next? It's the next paragraph. It's a one line, but it's the next paragraph.
Thus hath it been revealed aforetime, were ye to comprehend.
Next. Revealed.
Revealed by the Ba and the Ha.
Baha. Peace be upon him.
Hari. Hari, are you there?
Peace be upon him that inclineth his ear unto the melody of the mystic bird calling from the Sadrukul Muntaha. Glorified be the Most High.
Peace be upon him that inclineth his ear unto the melody of the mystic bird calling from the Sadratul Muntaha. Baha'u'llah declaring himself again. Glorified be, O Lord, the most glorious. That is a prayer revealed by the Bab. Glorified be, O Lord, the most glorious. And that ends our Kitab-e-Iqan. Yay. So then next week and 2 weeks, the homework is due. We will meet next week, but I think we'll take off the last one. Unless it's necessary, we'll decide next week. If you guys want to more discussions or something, we can continue. So write a page or a page and a half of your full expressions now of the Kitab-e-Iqan, and keep those, like, I want some personal reflections on this. Yeah. You know, Ruhullah, who was 9 years old, martyr, the young boy that met Baha'u'llah. And when he was in Holy Land, he was taking some children's classes. And after children's classes, Baha'u'llah used to meet the children sometimes. Baha'u'llah had asked him what he learned that day. And he repeated some stuff. And Baha'u'llah says, you're just parroting what your teacher told you. Tell me yourself, what is it that you learned? So he explained in his own very nice word, and Baha'u'llah says, bravo. And he put him through some questions. It was just amazing, yeah. So tell me your personal reflections of what you got out of that, and how would this help you be better for yourself, for your studies, for your life, for your teachings. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we already did the first part, so now combine it as a one topic, so to speak. You don't have to repeat all the stuff we did before, but as a whole sum of what is it that, what impression did you get? And most of all, I do want every one of you to write this one sentence, that it was not difficult to understand, right? And tell other people about this. They need to study this, yeah? This false impression of his difficulty is hindering people, hindering Baha'is themselves. And they need to get over that. They need to come to this. You can't be Baha'is without it. So wherever you can, motivate people to study it. Help them to study it. And when it comes to more younger ones, it has more courage for others. Yeah. And if whatever was difficult, I mean, we've gone through that, we can discuss and talk like that too. So from henceforward, I would recommend, whenever you get some time, stick with this. Read it every year once at least. Yeah, it's a doctrinal work. It's a prerequisite. It's the main thing what makes us Baha'is. So read on your own time. And whenever you have any questions or concerns, as long as I live, I'm here to help. You know, send me an email, send me whatever it is. Don't hesitate ever. But please make a habit of studying it once at least every year. If you sit down and read it cover to cover and have full time, it takes only 3 weekends, 3 full weekends. That's it. That's it. Yeah. And if you can find time right away within the next little while to reread it the second time, or for some of you, whichever number of times it has been, whenever you study something and reread it right after, it re-gels it so many times deeper, because those things are fresh in your head. And when you go through them again, you pick up your own stuff that you didn't pick up, because when we are reading out loud, sometimes we get distracted and stuff, and it helps you, and it helps your memory actually gels so much better. Our whole teaching work depends on this work. So study it. Yeah. All right. Any other questions, concerns until we meet next time?
What's the full name of Isfahani?
What is what?
Isfahani's name, full name.
Mullah Muhammad Isfahani. He was the one who told Mirza Yahya that you are as good as Baha'u'llah is, so you shouldn't take the second seat, which created big head into Mirza Yahya and did all sorts of stupid stuff. Became the worst of the covenant breakers in the history of mankind. Poisoned the manifestation of God twice at least.
Just give
So
some
next
guidelines
week on 12th,
I'm
for
sorry.
self.
Hold on, hurry.
next week on 12th, Shimi is telling that the parents are coming, no?
We
So
can continue. We can continue the same.
Okay, all right.
So
Okay.
I think they're
I mean, we
planning.
can, yeah, if you want, we can take a 2 weeks break and meet on 19th, which was our last class. If you want that, we can do that way.
Family, I think they are canceling the plan.
Okay.
All these things. So we can meet if we are meeting. We can meet. Yeah.
Okay, all right, then we'll meet next weekend and then we'll do that. And if we, I want everybody to have some time, speak about your experience, gather your thoughts. And if we were be out of time, then we'll do the last session anyway, so everybody gets a chance, yeah? Because we have 2 sessions left and we have already finished reading, so. Yeah. And I mean everybody, young and old. We are all in the beginning of our lives, remember? If your soul lives for eternity, we are all little children.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, any other concerns and questions from this part for now?
No.
All right, okay then, love you all.
Bye. Good night. Bye. Good night.
I will see you soon. Love.
Lava.